What is up guys, it is Michael and welcome back to another AFK Arena video. Today we will be discussing the Awakened Heroes and their priority on a tier list. Now, this will all be timestamped in a video so you can see what heroes lay on the S, A, B, C and D tier. Now, it's important to know what Awakened Heroes to build so you don't waste your valuable time emblems. To start off, we will work our way from the D tier all the way up to the S tier. Thank you all for all of your support on the channel, it really means the world to me. Without further ado, let's get on to the guide. Now unfortunately, Awakened Aziz is one of the worst Awakened heroes inside of AFK Arena. Only need Aziz at a legendary copy for him to do well. The 309 E60 is a wasted resources when it comes to building him, and unfortunately, I made that mistake in building Awakened Aziz. You all can laugh, I know, it is okay, but Awakened Aziz is hands down the worst Awakened hero in this game. Especially with his investment, he still doesn't really do anything. Being a mage and continuous damage dealer, I thought Awakened Aziz would be good, especially looking at his skills and abilities, but other than that, he really has no use. When it comes to the popularity hero data, he is used a lot within the Hypergene Tower, being inside the top 3 within there, which is honestly huge for him. Now there might be some formations with Flora, and that's where he's really utilized when it comes to the campaign also. Now you only need him at the legendary copy for him to really do well. Obviously shut down Flora so she can't fly high into the sky. Other than that, he doesn't really have a use when it comes to these formations. Moving down to the plus 30 signature item, which is huge when it comes to Awakened Aziz, but when it comes down to the engravings to the E30, E60, I actually wouldn't engrave him at all. I actually wouldn't even waste my red chest on him either. Honestly, skip fully on this hero. He isn't used anywhere. If you needed him for a formation, just merc him from one of your friends or one of your guildmates. It doesn't really matter. But you just need a legendary copy of him. So if you wanted to pull one for some reason and you wanted to have Awakened Aziz in your collection, then obviously he is fine at the legendary level. But other than that, you want to skip on Awakened Aziz being in the D tier. Moving over to Awakened Talene. Now unfortunately I had to put Awakened Talene in the C tier. Now I was thinking of putting her within the B tier, but I was like, Awakened Talene has really fallen off, so I decided to put her in the C tier. It was a very hard decision. She is one of my favorite heroes inside of AFK Arena, but when it comes to her utility inside of AFK Arena, we really do focus on the Celestial Tower. Now she has a very strong use within there in the top 5, but when it comes to her engravings, the big thing about Awakened Athalia is the 309 E60 and having the E60 minimum. Now her engravings are huge and what really brings out the full potential within Awakened Talene, along with all these Awakened heroes. She is utilized in a lot of boss formations as well when it comes down to Kayn and Ice Chimera, but her 9 and 9 is absolutely huge, especially for an Awakened hero, along with the plus 30 signature item, both ranking higher in the top 10 for the furniture and the top 20 for the signature item, and has some usage of the PvP aspect as well. When it comes down to Awakened Talene in AFK Arena, big thing about this hero is that she is a tank, which lets her down a little bit in my opinion, and of course her investment having to be a 309 E60 to really reign true in some of these formations, especially if you want to use it past the Celestial Tower. But other than that, Awakened Talene is in the C tier. Now if you obviously have the heroes built from S to B, then I highly recommend you go for Awakened Talene specifically for the Celestial Tower. Over to the B tier. Now you might think I'm crazy putting Athalia in the B tier, but you have to take this in account. She hasn't been used in all rotations when it comes to the Cursed Realm, the Nightmare Corridor, the Treasure Scramble, so we really need to take that into account when it comes to Awakened Athalia. Now don't get me wrong, she is an incredible hero inside of AFK Arena. Honestly, in my opinion, is a broken hero, but for now she has to prove herself before we can rank her any higher. When it comes to Awakened Athalia in AFK Arena, she is a warrior and a burst damage dealer inside the game, which is absolutely huge for an Awakened hero. But when it comes to her utility, she is heavily used in the Celestial Tower, being the #1 hero already within the tower, which is absolutely huge for Awakened Athalia. And of course, used in all PvP aspects of the game as well, being in the top 10 in the Arena Heroes, which is huge, especially for a hero that only just came out. She is making her stance within the Burning Brute as well, being within the top 10, also being used in the PvP Legend Challengers Tournament in the top 20. Her signature item plus 30 will be the minimum for her, along with the E60 engravings. 110%, that's probably the most important when it comes to the Awakened Athalia. paired with her 99 furniture, which absolutely brings all her skills and abilities together, unlocking the full potential of her. Just because Awaken Athalia is in the B tier doesn't mean she is a bad hero, just like having Taylene within the C tier doesn't mean she's a bad option. But when it comes to Awaken Athalia, in my opinion, she is projected to go to the S- tier, so keep that in mind. I'm only putting her in the B tier just to be fair to the other Awaken heroes, because I think it's way too early to have a judgment in putting her into the S to the S- tier, which I think she will go to anyway. But would I build Awaken Athalia in AFK Arena? 100% I would. Especially being another Awakened Celestial inside of AFK Arena, that means you don't have to build Taylene, hence my reasoning putting her over Taylene, but she does need the 309 E60 to really shine. Now moving over to the A tier, we have Awaken Fane. Now being a ranger and burst damage Awaken hero is absolutely huge in AFK Arena, especially when you talk about the PvP aspect of the game. Now moving over to his utility inside of AFK Arena, he's obviously number 1 in the Lightbearer Tower, which is absolutely incredible. Strongly used in the PvP aspect of AFK Arena, being in the top 10 in both the Arena of Heroes and the Legends Challenger tournament. Also has some utility within the Boss Grotesque Mage, along with Ishimura as well, both being in the top 10. In my opinion, the most important thing about Fane, to get his E60, 99, and plus 30, I really do believe having the 309 E60 for these Awakened heroes really brings out the full potential of them, especially if you are into the end game of AFK Arena. You need to have these heroes built to have any impact at all. But when we look at Fane, short side of the PvP aspect of the game, maybe some Temple Rift formations along with the Abyssal Expedition and along with the campaign and some utility in other game modes, Fane isn't really used anywhere else, hence my reasoning on really putting him into the A tier. Now he is a very strong A hero. When it comes to AFK Arena, PvP is probably one of the hardest areas to push, especially if you're free to play to low spending. But if you want a strong PvP hero in AFK Arena, Awaken Fane should be on top of your list to build. Moving over to the S- tier, we have Awaken Maitreya. Now Maitreya, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated Awaken heroes in AFK Arena. Being a mage and also continuous damage dealer in the game is absolutely huge, especially for an Awaken hero. Now when it comes to her utility in AFK Arena, we really focus on the PvP aspect yet again. She's number 1 in the Legends Challengers tournament, being utilized in the formations of 4 Hyper GMs, having Maitreya maybe in the front line or even in the back middle row, and pairing her with 4 other Hyper GMs really brings out her full potential. Maitreya is also utilized in the Kings and Hyper GMs Tower, both reigning in the top 10, and of course the Legends Challengers tournament and Arena heroes being both in the top 10 and top 20. Along with usage in the campaign, especially for the foreign cheese. Now the further you get into the game, foreign cheese will have to be the formation you use, and Maitreya really helps with that formation, especially with the RNG factor. When it comes down to the build, obviously her E60 is rating true at the top 25, along with her signature item, the plus 30, which would be her minimum. The 99, you want to get these Awakened heroes to the 99 of course. The E30 I would 100% skip and just go straight to the E60. Would I build Awaken Maitreya in AFK Arena? And I 100% will, especially with her utility inside the game. She is almost seen everywhere, which is absolutely crazy. Now the only reason why I put her to the S- and not to the S tier is because of the formations. Now when we look at Awaken Maitreya's formations, we really think of the Hypergeans. Now take this for an example. You have Awaken Maitreya here, you have Olgath, which needs to be fully built, along with Kaniso and Rook, Awaken Aziz, especially if you want to have any value with him, and Phantom. Now this is a very well heavy formation. This is my reasoning for decreasing her within the tier list, especially because of how high you need to have these heroes invested for her to really work. And not only that, but Maitreya herself has to be the 309 E60. But Maitreya is still a great hero and I 100% recommend you build her. Now moving over to the S tier, we have the best Awakened heroes you want to build inside of AFK Arena. Take notes of all the heroes in the S tier. Starting, we have Awakened Baden. Now Awakened Baden is an absolute monster in AFK Arena, especially being a ranger hero inside of AFK Arena. Now when it comes to his utility, it's absolutely crazy. He's used a lot within the PvP formations, especially when it comes to the bosses as well. He is utilizing Kane, which is one of the hardest bosses inside the game. Moving down to the King's Tower, strong use as well in some specific formations, along with the Greyborn Tower utilized in the top 10. Moving down to the Arena of Heroes, also used in the top 20, so the PvP side, Baden is heavily used, and his E60 is reigning true, being within the top 20. Now, for all Awakened Heroes, yet again, you want to build them to the E60, especially to unlock all their skills and abilities. It does have some usage within the campaign as well, along with the Legends Challenger tournament being within the top 20, and of course his 9/9 furniture reigning true. Would I build Awakened Baden in AFK Arena? And the answer to that is yes. 100% you want to build Awakened Baden inside of here, because his utility is insane. His damage is out of this world, especially in specific formations in the campaign. For an example, this formation right here within the campaign, utilizing Queen, Chicken, Eron along with Brutus, is absolutely incredible, especially in chapters 50 plus within the campaign. He is still used with this specific formation. Not only that, but the PvP aspect side of the game, the PvE, the treasure scramble, when it comes to the Cursed Realm, he is utilized everywhere and is absolutely performing to his maximum potential, so I highly recommend you build Baden. Moving over to our next S tier hero, we have Awakened Brutus, an absolute beast when it comes to Awakened Heroes in AFK Arena, especially for the Moiler faction. One of the coolest Awakened Heroes in AFK Arena, especially showing love to Brutus, which is absolutely incredible. When it comes down to his utility in AFK Arena, he is almost used in every game mode inside of AFK Arena. Now, when it comes to the Moiler Tower, he is within the top 3. He's used in the PvP aspects as well, being within the top 5 for both Arena of Heroes and the Legend Challenger tournament. Used in boss formations, of course, with Ice Chimera, along with Kane at the bottom here, within the top 10 for both, which is absolutely crazy, as Kane is one of the hardest bosses inside of AFK Arena. His E60 is reigning true, obviously being the top 10, and you want to get his E60 minimum. And of course, his 9/9 furniture is reigning true as well. Make sure you have all the Awakened Heroes, especially within the S tier to 309 E60, to have the most value out of all of them. It does say his E30 is within the top 20, but please invest into these heroes' E60s, as you are limiting their full potential, only having them at E30. Would I build Awakened Brutus in AFK Arena? And that is an obvious answer. Yes, you have to build Awakened Brutus, especially down the line, in my opinion. His utility is out of this world. He is used in majority of the game modes in AFK Arena. I don't think he will be replaced anytime soon, so 100% you have a great investment if you are going for Awakened Brutus. Moving to another S tier hero within the tier list, and we have Awakened Solis, one of my favorite Awakened heroes inside of AFK Arena, hands down. Now, a fun fact about Awakened Solis, she is the most popular Awakened hero in AFK Arena, so that means majority of people in AFK Arena either have a copy of her or have her built. When it comes to Awakened Solis' utility, she is using a lot of boss formations especially, but she is using the top 3 when it comes to Demonic Namora, which is absolutely huge for her. Her E60 is reigning true, being at the top 3, which in my opinion, all these heroes in the S tier especially need the 309 E60 minimum. Moving down to the World Tree, obvious use being in the top 3 within the Wilder Tower. 9/9 reigning true being in the top 3 as well. This is absolutely crazy, but she is used in Kane, Ice Chimera, Burning Brute, in the Grotesque Mage, and she is in the top 5 for all these bosses, which is absolutely incredible. Moving down to the Arena of Heroes, obvious use within the top 10, along with the Dune Destroyer as well, down to an E30 being in the top 10. Now, I don't recommend you E30 Awakened Solis. I recommend you go fully for the E60. Strong uses within the Legends Championship, and as well as the plus 30 signature item. 110% you want to get it to the plus 30, as well as usage within the Legends Challenger tournament and the campaign especially. Now, would I build Awakened Solis? And the answer to that question is yes. Please build Awakened Solis in AFK Arena. She is definitely the strongest Awakened support inside of the game, and in my opinion, she won't be replaced for a long time. Now, with these heroes, you want to build them to the 309 E60 minimum, especially if you want to have the most value out of these Awakened heroes. But if you are building Awakened Solis or have her built, you have made a great investment. Moving over to the S plus tier, she really doesn't need an introduction. She is the best Awakened hero inside of AFK Arena, in my opinion, and honestly, it is a fact because it is Awakened Belinda. Now, when it comes to a mage and get burst damage deal in AFK Arena, The amount of potential for Awakened Belinda is limitless. It comes down to her utility inside of AFK Arena. She is heavily used in the PvP side. In almost every single PvP mode you play in AFK Arena, you will definitely see Awakened Belinda. She does have strong use within the campaign, which is absolutely huge for an Awakened hero. Now, she can solo a team on her own. The only thing she does need though is the survivability, so her 309 E60 does help with that a lot, especially if you want to E80 a hero. I actually recommend you E80 Awakened Belinda. Moving down to the Legend Challenge Tournament, being in the top 5 of that as well is absolutely incredible. Along being in the top 10 within the Lightbearer Tower is absolutely huge, especially when you get to the 3 stages and you really need help. You chuck Awakened Belinda in the formation and she reigns true. Moving to the King's Tower, yet again utility within there, making sure Belinda survives and she will absolutely dominate the enemy team. Great usage within the Arena of Heroes, so the PvP side of the game. Her 9 and 9 will be the minimum 100%. Now, I actually recommend you go over the 9 and 9, especially for more damage, more crit damage amplification. Make sure you have her attack as high as possible so the stats reign true when it comes to the formations. E60 will be the minimum. Ignore the E30. You need to E60 Awakened Belinda especially. Now, when it comes down to Awakened Belinda, the funny thing is that she only really needs a legendary copy. Now, what I mean by that is within the current Abyssal Expedition, if you have a legendary copy of Awakened Belinda, she is doing 6 billion damage within the formation. And that in itself is incredible, as fully invested heroes can't even do 2 billion damage, yet alone 6 billion. Now, if you have a fully invested Awakened Belinda, say you had a 309-67, she can do 10 billion damage within there. Obviously, if you took her a step further within the E80, she can do up to 13 billion damage alone. And that is absolutely unheard of when it comes to an Awakened hero, especially when we talk about the Abyssal Expedition being one of the hardest modes inside the game. But would I build Awakened Belinda in AFK Arena? And I think you know the answer to that question. Yes, please build Awakened Belinda in AFK Arena. If you haven't built Awakened hero, I highly recommend you focus on Awakened Belinda especially. Her utility is out of this world, her damage is unheard of, and the potential of this hero is limitless. So that will do it for the tier list of Awakened heroes. I hope this video can help you in deciding in what Awakened hero to build. Let me know your thoughts on the Awakened hero tier list in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next one.